We don't just sow, we cultivate dreams. Woo. In the soil where the sunlight gleams. Every root, every leaf, a part of the plan. A legacy born from the touch of our hands. Roots in the fire, hearts in the ground. We grow what we love, we spread it around. No need for permission, no waiting in line. We build our own freedom, one seed at a time. Roots in the fire. Roots in the fire. Mistakes like stones, they sharpen the blade. The grind shapes the path where legends are made. We share what we know, no walls, no gates. Knowledge grows best when it circulates. Struggles may burn, but the embers remain. Through ashes we rise, we bloom through the pain. Roots in the fire, hearts in the ground. We grow what we love, we spread it around. No need for permission, no waiting in line. We build our own freedom, one seed at a time. Roots in the fire. Roots in the fire. Roots in the fire. The rain may fall, the winds may howl, but passion breaks through every stormy vow. We are more than growers, we're carving the way. Movements and legacies rise every day.
Looking to level up your garden? Highlight Australia has you covered. As the premier hydroponics and grow equipment supplier in the Asia Pacific, Highlight services growers across Australia and New Zealand with trusted gear, premium products, and the brands serious cultivators rely on. From lighting and nutrients to tents, propagation, ventilation, and complete grow solutions, Highlight is built for growers who want results. And now, Terpene Table and WRC Legends get 5% off every order. Head to highlight.com.au and use code WRCCrew at checkout. Highlight Australia. Grow smarter, grow stronger. G'day Legends and welcome back to the Terpene Table.
Welcome everyone. We're back again.
We are back again for episode 2 of John Doe. We're going to talk Autoflowers.
What an episode this is going to be. There's plenty of questions to be asked and answered.
Yes, let's hope. Let's hope. How is everyone doing tonight in the chat? It's good to see a few of you joined us. Good stuff, good stuff. All right. Well, yeah, last episode was a bit of a reintroduction back to the Terpene Table. So this one we're going to get straight into it. We're doing a subject that's pretty close to my heart and one that I care about, autoflowers. So we're going to try and do a bit of a full breakdown, where they came from, how they got good, how you grow them, and probably the one that everyone's sort of waiting on is sort of my honest answer on whether they've sort of closed the gap on photos or not.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one, isn't it?
I think so. Might be a bit of a hot take, maybe.
Yes, everyone's got their own opinion, and yeah, it's come a long way. So let's see if we can persuade them to have a go.
All right. Well, yeah, before we get right into it then, let's see where you sit. Where do you sit on autos coming into this? Are you sold, are you skeptical, or are you sort of somewhere in the middle?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm very new to them still, so I've only run 3 in my entire career, and
Okay.
yeah, it's been interesting. And in those 3, there's been such a difference. It's really wild, even off the same cultivar, as you do get with the photos. But
It can be
with the
drastic
photos,
in an auto. Yeah.
yeah, like really drastic with the finishing time. I think a lot more than the photo periods.
Yep. Yep. Definitely agree there. Yeah, you can have a very staggered finish with multiple of the same packet of
Yes.
seeds. Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that I'm very interested in because I did have a great time growing them and watching them transition into flower by themselves without when they were ready, without having to flick that switch and saying, "Okay, do it now for me."
Yeah, don't have to be told, sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, maybe let's rewind a little bit and we'll go sort of dial back to where it sort of came from. Because it seems to be like the third one that it's the third wheel of cannabis. You got your sativa, your indica, and then ruderalis, which is what made autos possible for us. It was sort of discovered in the 1920s, from my knowledge. Was a Russian botanist that formally identified it in southern Serbia.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, so it's been around for a while as an autoflower, as something that's been recognised anyway. Um,
Yeah.
but sort of by itself, it was just not. There was not much to it. It's just sort of a ropey, weedy plant.
Yeah, and it's not that anymore, that's for sure. Like,
No, it's definitely come a long way. And I think from what I know, there was a long period of breeders having a crack at trying to tame the ruderalis and trying to understand it a bit more, and that was mostly through the 70s. And a
okay.
lot of a lot of them sort of gave up. But there was one bloke in Canada, Canadian breeder, the Joint Doctor, and he was sort of the late 90s, early 2000s, and he got a hold of some ruderalis through Mexico, which was called Mexican Rudy at the time. Yeah, and he crossed it to some Northern Lights, and that's where Lowryder came from. Sort of the first commercially available autoflower, I'd say. Yeah.
And that's the one that everyone knows, really, isn't it? They were the days of the ghetto grows in your room.
Yeah, I think that's the one that everyone sort of throws back to too when they think about an autoflower. Yeah, it's the first one that everyone thinks of
Yep.
is that Lowryder. Really squat, sort of weedy looking plant, very airy buds.
Yeah, and there's nothing like that anymore. It's you wouldn't even consider it the same plant, really, would you?
No, I wouldn't think so. No, no. Yeah, and one other thing I probably should touch on is the taste of the Lowrider was very off-putting for a lot of people. There wasn't a lot of good terps in it.
Yeah, because I've heard that from a lot of the legacy breeders, that their complaints had been because of that. A lot of people could pick that auto taste.
Yeah, it had a distinct sort of taste to it. Yeah,
Yeah, but from the 3 that I've encountered, that's far from the truth anymore.
yeah. Again, that's just another one of those old things that was relevant. Probably 20 years ago, but sort of not now. Um, the modern auto gene pool is quite huge compared to that first lowrider. It's day and night to where it was. We're not talking 8% sort of ditchweed anymore.
No.
Mm. Um,
So what is you? Why did you go to autos for breeding them?
Why did I dive into autos? Personally, I dived in because of that. I just wanted to explore them more and see what they were really capable of. See how close I could push them to what we call modern day premium photo period cultivars, I guess.
Yep.
And I think when grown properly now, some of these autos, unless you were told, you wouldn't know the difference.
Oh, absolutely. You just couldn't.
And I think I think that was the sort of the whole point. And I think that's what made me curious as to how good I can get an auto. I guess is the plainest way of saying it.
Yep.
Yeah. How
So do you
chunky
think that
can I get it? How
they've?
much terp expression? How much transfer? All of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yep. And what do you think? How much do you think comes through? Do you think there's a little lost? Do you think that there's a little added along the way, or what are your
I
thoughts on it?
I don't think there was much to be lost from the original ruderalis and from the original Lowryder. So um, I think
Or from
anywhere. I'll go
or
go.
from
Sorry.
taking the photo over to the ruderalis, do you think that there's much
Okay.
lost once you get into it a few generations?
I think you're never gonna perfectly recreate a photo period into an autoflower. Um, you're going to take the traits from that photo period that you want over those generations, and if you selectively do it long enough, then you're going to come very close. And you're probably talking, 10 generations deep by the time you're anywhere close to that original photo period.
Yep.
Um, so yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're just sort of trying to influence by adding that time trigger um, to create that different style of grow. Because when you come down to think about it, you can get a lot more generally, unless you're doing multiple tents and multiple rooms and veg rooms and flower rooms. If you were just one person, with one tent, one setup, you're going to get a lot more grows throughout the year just running autos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
It was one of the ones that what the very first one that I grew. It ended up finishing in just under 60 days, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Really, really fast finish. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to check the trichomes, and yeah, I just couldn't believe that it had gone from sprouting to finishing in 60 days.
Mm.
That's a
Yep.
normal photo period's just its flower time, not its veg time or anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. You're talking about putting a photo period in 1212 and getting a respectable plant at the
Mm.
end of it. Which was not possible just with a straight photo, obviously. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot to them. And I think, when bred correctly and when enough generations work has gone into it, you can see that. Um, and then
So,
obviously you're still going to get those ones that sort of throw back that aren't properly bred, let's say, and
yep,
and they might be the ones that off put a few people.
yep. Some breeders might call testers.
Yeah, yeah. Some might call testers, some might not.
Some
Um,
might call it the pride ship of the.
yeah, some might just dump it as a release.
Yeah.
Uh,
So they're going into the breeding. So how would you go about breeding an auto from the start? What would you do? The first steps.
okay, well, it all depends on what I'm trying to breed for. If I'm breeding an auto, I'm gonna pick a target and chase that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go into that project with a goal. Um, so my first goal, say, may be if I want to bring a photo period over.
Yep.
Well, then that's going to be my first goal is to create that first generation of seed, which is that autoflower trait is then recessive, so it's completely hidden in that first lot.
Okay.
So
And then
that
you've got to back cross it again, pretty much.
yeah, well then you've got to hunt through that and cross again to find 25% autoflowers from that cross, and then you can cross again. Yeah, so it takes a few generations' work to actually cross your photoperiods through into an autoflower.
Okay. Does it matter which the recipient is? So could you cross and have a lot?
So if you could go either way, so you could
Yep.
reverse an auto
Yes.
onto, yeah, you can reverse an auto and take that pollen as the donor and donate it
Yeah.
to a photo period, or vice versa. And the same
So that
thing is,
doesn't matter about the
no, your first generation,
percentage.
your F1 is still going to be
Okay.
still going to be a completely recessive trait, so it's still going
Okay.
to be completely hidden. And then you push on to your F2s, and then about, yeah, like I said, about 1 in 4 of those will come through as a true auto.
Yep.
And then, you know, then so, yeah, like I was sort of saying, so that they're true recessive genetics. So straight away, as a breeder, you're only working with sort of quarter of the population anyway to start
Yeah.
judging. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you've got you've got timeline on top of that. So, you know, if I'm selecting a photo, I can hold it in veg as long as I want, weeks, whatever.
Yep.
Take my time. I can take clones. I can, you know, run it out, come back to it, watch it, whatever. Autos, you don't get any of that, obviously. So your plant's on the clock from day one.
Yeah.
So you got, you know, you've only got a few weeks to make every sort of call of, you know, your vigor, your structure, your terps,
Yep.
potency, finish times. Yeah, all of that.
And how early would you make a call when you're deciding on what goes to the next?
Again, yeah. See, I have to make the call pretty early, but then you have to be quite uh, selective in your breeding from that generation forward as well.
Yep.
So that's what I mean. You've really to get the what you're looking for, you have to chase quite a few generations deep. Even if you're
Okay.
just straight crossing 2 autos, you're still going to get massive variations. So, you know, same as you do with photo periods. So again, you've still got to go, you know, generations and generations deep to actually get to what you're looking for. Yeah. Like someone said in the chat, F7, F8 is where you start sort of getting a bit confident commercially that they're all going to be about the same. And that's about right. Yeah.
So with just on that one, if you're getting that deep into the F7, F8, if that was crossing a photo into an auto,
hmm
and you're that deep, are you pretty confident that 100% of them are going to be autos then?
If I'm at like F7, F8, definitely. Yep.
Okay.
And the way I've selected through that as well have proven
Okay.
themselves to be autos. So by the time I'm sort of 4th generation, technically, they should all be 99%.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then that pretty much you just
And then
click back
from
to
there,
for number one and then it's your F1 auto really then, isn't it?
exactly, yeah, then you're about stage 1 sort of thing, you know, of a photo, what you'd call a photo period cross, probably.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a bit can be a bit tricky, but yeah, but from sort of F4 onwards is when you start really dialing in those traits that you're looking for, whether that
Yeah.
be, like I said, your terps or, you know, your potency or your structure or
And do you find it quicker going that deep into your F7s and F8s? Would you say that it's quicker or longer than your photo periods because it's you can't flip them in a solo cup?
yeah, right. Okay. So I would say hunting hunting and doing it properly and properly breeding autoflowers is a longer process than breeding a consistent photoperiod flower.
Okay.
Because like I said, probably, if you're at F1 on a photoperiod, you're already sort of chasing what you're chasing. You know what I mean? You're already selectively breeding from there out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas if you're starting and building your own autoflower from scratch, let's say, you're sort of not really getting to that stage until F3, F4.
Okay. And starting from scratch to get to that F3, F4, how long would that take?
Oh, maybe 2.5 years to do it properly, I'd say.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
You
dedication.
you can probably do it a little bit quicker. I've probably heard of people doing it in 12 months or so.
Yep.
Multiple tents and multiple hunts and early seed, so early pollinations to get early seeds for testing and things like that. Yeah, but yeah, you could do it very drastically quicker if you tried really, 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 really hard.
And when we were talking before about being the donut and reversing an auto, um, if you put like a regular photo and cross that male over an auto, so you'd still be getting your regular auto seeds then. Would that be a more
Well,
sought after
no, you'd be
breeding
getting
plant?
regular photoperiod seeds
Oh,
with
yeah.
a
Sorry. Yep.
recessive auto
Yep.
gene.
Yep.
Yeah, so you'd still be there, but you'd be back at F1 photoperiod again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So you wouldn't be. A lot of breeders aren't really chasing that regular strain, really, are they? Because then you're breaking it down into an even smaller percentage of, let's say you get 50-50 male, female, and then you only get 25% of that population, and you do 100 and you get 50 males and
Yes,
only
that's
a
right.
handful. Yeah.
There's not many, I'd say, autoflower breeders that are breeding from male or, doing it the way that you've just suggested. There would be a handful and some that would do it very, very dedicatedly, I'm sure.
Yep.
But like I said, the gene pool's, night and day to where it was 20 odd years ago. So what we've got to select from to breed with is already quite a lot better than it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can start to, if you're finding sort of autos that you like and reversing one auto to another auto, you can start chasing those things that you're chasing quite a bit faster
Okay.
than if you were to work from a photoperiod cross. But
And
like I said, it all just depends on sort of what you're going into that project, what your goal is going into that project. If it is to create a photo into an auto, then that's how you're going to sort of go about it. But if you're coming into that project with your, 2 autoflowers, then you might just be chasing terps, or you might be chasing the structure from one of those and adding
yep.
it to the other one. Yeah.
We just had a question in the chat. So where the fast photos come into it. So how do they slide in between the photo period and the auto?
Yeah, that's a bit of a hot debate, I think.
What's your view on it?
My view on it is I'm just not a believer in that fast photo. I don't think there's really such thing, so to say.
Okay.
When you look at it these days, we've got photoperiod genetics that flower in 6, 7, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
They're not calling them fast photos, or you know what I mean? Like they are just a photoperiod genetic that's been bred to be a photoperiod genetic. It's in my opinion, it's a bit of a marketing thing.
Yeah. Yep.
But
And it,
like I'm probably going to get slammed by some auto breeders or some photo breeders for saying that. But that's just my opinion on it. I haven't seen a difference. I haven't seen any faster finishing times from anything that would otherwise be considered a fast photo.
well,
Being an
I think,
F1 autocross, yeah.
yep. I think you'd nearly have to call like your blueberry muffin a fast photo, really, wouldn't you? Some of those are finishing up around the 45 to 50 days.
Exactly, yeah. Um, but that's not an F1 autocross, which is what
No.
these fast photos are. Yeah. So they're just unstable marketing. It's that's just my opinion.
And do you have to change the lights to 1212 to trigger it to flower, or is it
Yeah.
going to do
Yeah,
it
so
like
there's
auto does it? It can do it at 20 and 0.
look, it might do it, but then again, most photoperiod genetics might do it when you alter the light schedule or
Yep.
shorten their light schedule. Um, but they're most of the time they're just a typical photoperiod that need to be told when to flower.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so what have we got? Dragon Force in the chat has said they would be faster finishing photo period that still need light change to have locked in that trait from breeding two together that just finished faster flowering times. Yeah, but it only makes a slight difference in finishing times. You'd still need to be hunting. Yeah, exactly. So you'd need to be, like he says, you need to be hunting for that shorter finishing time anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And you're not going to find that sort of just in your F1. So by creating an auto photo cross and just calling it a fast photo, you're not really there. You just got an unstable photo period at that point with a recessive autoflower gene. There's still going to be a beautiful plant, but they're not. They're not one or no. You can't claim it to be that it's going to finish faster than a photo period, if that makes sense. Because what have you got to compare it to?
so, just talking about being a beautiful plant, is there anything that you look for when breeding an auto compared to breeding a photo? Will you look at the structure more, and consider that a beautiful plant, or would you look at the timing it takes to go into the pre-flower, or that doesn't matter, or is there anything that you'd look at
Yeah, I
just
guess.
as
I guess.
as an auto directly?
Yeah, as an auto directly, I'm looking for structure. I'm looking for terp expression. So, but in general, like if I'm breeding, I'm like I said, I'm going into that project with an idea in my head of what I want from each one.
Yep.
So it might be like, let's say I've got blueberry muffin, let's say an auto of, um, and a gorilla glue, and I want the structure of the muffin, but I want some of the terps of the glue, or
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm that's what I'm going into that hunting for.
Are there any characteristics that are hard to bring over?
Ooh. I'd say some terps.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the terps are harder to bring over.
Like the sweeter ones or the earthier ones, or
Yeah, earthy seems to be pretty pronounced, pretty common. I think like good. Okay. Okay. I'm not being a bit of a loose term when I say terps because, but I'm talking like sulfur compounds. I'm talking, everything involved.
yeah, the whole deal.
Yeah. So without sort of proper testing, I can't tell you exactly what's missing, but to me, that to bring over that true fruity flavor expressions and those real transfers from
Okay.
aroma to taste is very hard.
Yep.
I think you can get, awesome looking terps. You can get, awesome tasting terps. You can get awesome smelling terps. You can get awesome looking flower, but they don't all necessarily translate that well in an auto flower.
Yep.
Whereas I think you get a really good photo and, you can pull a bud off and you're like, oh, it smells like cherry. And 90% of the time, if it's a good premium cultivar, it's going to come through in that transfer. You're going to taste that cherry. You're going to taste some of those aromas. And that's not always as true, I find, with autoflowers.
Yeah. It's
Not saying that might be a bad taste, like it just might be completely different from what it smells like.
okay. Yeah, gotcha now. Yep.
Yep. I hope I explained that all right.
No, you did. You did.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that's harder to bring over. Is there anything that's harder to breed out of them? Like a recessive trait
Not,
that
yeah, not necessarily. I don't think it's just anything that you don't sort of want to keep as always. I don't think there's any particular trait that's probably harder to remove than another.
what about like resilience, like against stress? Are there any ones that can be that are known to be more resilient than others, or is that just they're all sort of on the same shelf with resilience and stress levels that's going to turn them into flower?
Yeah, that's that ruderalis. That's that gene.
Yeah,
That's that trigger in there anyway. Yeah. Um, so generally, stress will do it.
and that's something that you can't really breed out of it then.
Not that I've found. No. To a certain extent, yes. You can get sort of like environmental stability.
Yep.
Um, but I'm not going to recommend that, like every autoflower, you can start in a small pot and transplant or things like that. General rule of thumb, you should always sort of start an auto where it's going to finish. So you don't disturb that root zone because that root stress is, one of the quickest things that'll flip it into flower.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they're known for, isn't it? Just you've
Mhm.
got to be so careful with that root zone.
Yep. Yeah, so yeah, generally, yeah, stress is a big one. Overfeeding, things like that, like your general stresses.
Yep.
Um, yeah.
So s- that's sort of something that you got to deal with. So the old saying that autos are for beginners isn't really it, is it? So because yeah, some of those beginners they're not going to know about VPD. They're not going to know about PPFD. They're not going to know that how wet to keep it, how much that you don't follow the feed chart. So
Well, in saying that, yeah and no. So autos,
okay,
I find, I think are great for beginners because it helps you dial in things quite fast, and you learn from your mistakes quite quick. 90% of the time, you're not going to kill it, especially if you're in a forum like this or if you've got a couple of buddies around that have half an idea.
yep.
You'll still go seed to harvest. You just might not be overly impressed with your end result. you
Yeah.
know but then you can learn from that one and go again. You go, all right, well, I drowned it early, or I had my light too close too early. Yeah.
Well, that's when you grow diaries as well, isn't it? So you can write down what you did on that day and when it started to go into flower, so you can know what's if you've got a nice pack of seeds and you've just popped your one, and you know what's going to happen if you do that to the next one.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a great thing to have a bit of a diary to come back to, and you can look at and go, all right, well, that's what I did. And, maybe that's what I did wrong. And I did think that when I did this. And yeah.
So what about training? I know personally, I'm too scared to train them. I let them go because I've only run the 3.
Yep.
I just let them
I
grow into their
think
natural form.
I think they respond really, really well to some low stress training.
Okay.
I think, early low stress training is great. I think until you're extremely confident with them, I'd stay away from sort of super cropping and things like that. Topping, I think once you sort of know what to expect, I'd say go for it.
Okay.
Couple of autos deep, and and you're pretty sort of happy with how they've turned out, I'd say go for it. You'll be
Okay.
probably quite impressed. They do bounce back. They're very resilient and they respond really, really well.
Are we talking like your photo where it'd be your 4th or your 5th node up, or are we talking the 2nd node, or?
Yeah, somewhere around sort of 3rd or 4th node. I'd
Okay.
recommend topping them. Yeah, top them sort of reasonably early.
Okay. Okay. So that was
Yeah,
just a
but don't
comment.
be overly scared of them.
So there was just a comment about even the root hitting the bottom of the pot can stress it into turning into flower. So as long as you topped it before that taproot hit that bottom, so you're not multiplying both those factors, perhaps.
Yeah, which is why I guess probably I say 3rd or 4th sort of node is and reasonably topping reasonably early.
Hmm.
Rather than a bit later, like you probably could with a photoperiod and probably do, 5th or 6th node. Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, that is a good one about the root hitting the bottom of the pot and triggering it to flower. Because when like I always do, I'll pull the root ball out of everything that I grow and
Yep.
see how it was and give it an inspection, and you can see that taproot when it hits, it just starts spiraling around. They've got a crazy root system on them.
Well, they do. Yeah, the root systems go pretty hard, I guess. And that's probably why we sort of recommend. I'm going to say 5 and 7 gallons.
Yep.
Fabric pots.
Okay.
Yeah, and you let those sort of the other roots can sort of air trim off a lot easier. But it gives that taproot enough room.
Yeah. I I haven't run a fabric pot with the autos yet. I think that might be the next one.
Yep. You can get away with 3 gallons, but I think you're pushing it. You got
Yeah.
to be sort of, I think that's probably a later on in your auto flowering growing career when you know you've got the early stages of them pretty well dialed in.
Okay. Yeah. It's that the first couple of weeks of their life that you've really got to send them on their way to be a good
Yeah,
good plant, really, isn't it?
yeah, I think so. Those first early weeks are the best. Yeah, sorry, not the best, but like they're the most crucial.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. What's Benno said here in the chat? Got any auto breeding projects on the go and anything that I want to try? Yeah, always got auto flower projects on the go. I won't give away too much at the moment. But something I do want to try is to bring over some mutant leaves and some mutant expressions into a solidly performing in other ways autoflower. So something that's still got structure and density to its buds, still got terps, that might have some different leaf shape. Let's say that.
Nice.
That's
That'll be
probably
interesting.
that's probably my currentest project. We'll touch on sort of feeding them, like as we
Yep.
were. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So I think start off lighter than your typical, typical photo periods is a good one. Probably even half strength, to be honest.
Okay. And how long would you do that for? Would you do it for until they get, say, your fourth or your fifth node, or until they get a foot high, or just while they establish?
Yeah, just early while they establish when you're confident that they're stacking the growth on, and they're probably you'll start to tell that they're looking for more food.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is just watching nutrient like nitrogen burn. I think early is
All
the
right.
biggest one.
Okay. That's so when you.
And and don't, because it's not going to want a huge amount of it, and that's going to really contribute to your structure later on in flower.
All right. So they're not really nitrogen hungry.
Not overly, no, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just from my experiences.
And feeding them into flour, like, every one of your feed charts has your week one of flour, your week two of flour. With an auto, it, it's really going off the plant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's reading the plant. So I'm generally the first sign of pistils. I'm
Okay.
starting to look for my and starting to introduce bloom nutrients then.
Yep.
Yeah, once it starts expressing its female form, I'm like, all right, now you're starting to look for a bit more potassium, a bit more phosphorus. And then I'll slowly start building that up later until my later stages in flower, and then I'll start backing it off again.
Yep. Same as a photo would.
Yeah,
It,
exactly.
and that's stretch. It's funny you mentioned that they're not really nitrogen hungry, because when that stretch kicks in, they can really take off, can't they?
They can motor. Yes, they can motor. Um. Oh, excuse me. And I think if you need to feed it, then you will. But I don't think you'll find yourself into that nitrogen deficiency range very easily.
Yeah,
Let's put it that
that's a
way.
very interesting one. That the ratio that they need to be fed at.
Yeah, I just think they're, like you say, a lot less nitrogen hungry than your typical photo periods. And I guess because their veg period's sort of built in, it's all short. It's just they go to woe. You know what I mean? They know what they're doing from day dot. They're like, I've got to get there and get there fast. So
Yeah, the clocks are ticking. I've got to get there.
yeah, well, they know like it's it's about to get frozen or the light's going to disappear completely. So I got one shot.
What what's the best medium you've found? I know that you're a big cocoa fan.
Yep,
Have you tried the different mediums for them?
I have grown a couple in living soil. I haven't done any like pure hydroponically, uh, but I did find them respond very well in living soil.
Yep.
I found them respond. They responded like extremely well, terpene expression wise and flavor
Okay.
expression wise. A lot more than my cocoa grown counterparts. But in saying that, I can probably double my yield in cocoa
Yeah,
because I can push them at the right stages, whereas I'm relying on the soil to do the work the whole way through.
that's it, and that's one of the big reasons that I like the auto pots so much as well. Is you can do certain things to them in your auto pots, whether you turn it off or give it a little bit of a dry back, or you turn that air dome on
Yep.
right when they're starting to stretch, and it's just like giving it a bit of nitrous.
Yes, exactly. That's the sort of precision control, I guess.
So yeah, being able to do that in maybe like a living soil, like a double XL auto pot might be the next venture, I think.
Yeah, see, that would be really cool. I'd like to see that. Because I definitely haven't done that.
No, because yeah, being an auto and being not so resilient to your drybacks and everything, and the auto pot lets it drink when it wants to drink, and then it dries out a little bit. So that might be something that
It might respond to that taproot, being
yeah,
a bit, having a bit more availability there when it needs it. It might feel a little bit less cramped, let's say, in an auto pot.
yep, bit more comfort, and let it to veg a bit longer, thinking that it's not going to die, that it's not going to get snowed in, and be a
Exactly.
bit more
Yep.
comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's some absolute monsters getting around social media, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
You'd be
Yeah.
proud if it was a photo period plan to grow it like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been a couple of proven monsters. Some people that can really push those autos. So yeah, that's good. That's really good to see.
So, do you think that that's something that can be bred into them as well? Is that
Yeah, early
yield side?
vigor and yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, that can be something that you can chase. You might have something that's short and stout, and something that's crystal cluster and unicorn glue are again two perfect examples. I think they're completely the opposites of each other
okay,
in that way. Crystal's very short and stout, and just she gets a bit chunkier, a little bit airier buds, but um, whereas the unicorn seems to it's bred to grow. It's vigor the whole way through. It doesn't stop stretching, sort of thing. So
yeah,
yeah, slightly different project pathways, let's say.
okay.
Yeah.
And what were they? Do you want to go into a bit of the background? What were they bred from? The
Oh.
lineage of those.
The lineage of them. Okay. Crystal cluster is crystal cross Moby Dick, cross a Gorilla Glue. And originally that was bred. I got handed down those genetics from a friend of mine who was breeding out of California at the time.
Okay.
And he got quite old and wanted to sort of retire from what he was doing. And he gave me those to sort of hunt through a little bit further, and so we did. And then I took them to what we called the crystal cluster, and then I BX1'd it again, and so now that's where we're at with that.
Beautiful. There's nothing better than a little hand-me-down family heirloom that you keep going.
No, it was just one of those special ones that just sort of had to keep going. And then the unicorn glue is, but it's still got the Moby Dick and the gorilla glue in it, obviously with its name. So that was the Gorilla Glue GG4 Moby Dick, and then that's got Forbidden Fruit as an autoflower, which is what I
Okay.
used in that to bring out those sort of fruity terps. And that's one I sort of bred from scratch. Yeah,
Nice. That
and now we're at
sounds
the
very interesting.
BX one with that.
Okay.
So I took that to F4 and then now BX1.
And which side did you back cross it to?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Did you just back cross it onto itself, or did you back
Yes,
cross?
yes. Being an
Okay,
auto
okay,
glue, that's what I'd consider a back cross.
okay.
Being an auto, that to me is a back cross. I think taking another genetic that doesn't belong in the family is not quite a back cross.
Yeah. So
You
you
know what I
didn't
mean?
cross it back into its predecessor.
No, I found a matching sister um, from a from a previous seed run.
Okay.
So I used an original unicorn glue F4 with a back crossed unicorn glue. So I've crossed a set to make a BX or
Yep.
and then I've taken one of that generation over an earlier generation, and that's what I call the back cross.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's all dependent because a lot of photo period, people will call just chucking something in that existed in the genetic line further down back in and calling that a back cross, and that's
Yeah,
has
absolutely.
been passed on as well to the autoflower trait or to the autoflower sort of community. And I don't know. There's ways and things of doing it properly. So what's Blade said in here? Back cross is a sibling pairing, and you can go F5 with a F4 cross F3. Yeah, that'd be a true back cross. Easiest way to put it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I overcomplicate things in the way I talk about it. But I guess one thing, the other one we wanted to touch on is how close they've come to photo period stuff. I think the gap has dramatically closed. Like, I think top shelf autos grown well will surprise, most people who haven't touched them.
Oh,
Especially someone
absolutely.
who hasn't touched them even in 10 years. Like if you grew one 10 years ago and you're still sort of a bit weary on them, come back to something modern. I think it'll surprise you. Potency's there, the terps are there, bag appeal's there. For majority of growers, a good auto is just what you will give you mostly what you're happy with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just didn't get a real good rap, did they? Over the
No.
years, it's buying from those Dutch seed banks and the European seed banks, and you were
And
given
some of them were good, and a lot of them were
those.
white label.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were always the freebies, the autos. So I know personally, I was a bit skeptical to run them. I was like, well, I'm
Yeah,
not
for
going to
sure.
run these.
Yeah,
I
yeah. They
can't.
sit in the bottom of the vault. Yeah,
Yeah, yep.
yeah, and just keep getting pushed aside. Yeah, yeah.
But
But I think you come to some of these sort of modern cultivars, and I think it's a very different ball game. But like I think at the end of the day, still at the very very top end, the absolute pinnacle photo period genetics are still going to have that edge.
yeah,
The ceiling on a photo period is just higher. You can just push it further.
yeah. Well, you've got all that buffer, really, don't you?
Mm.
It didn't work for me this time. I'll just re-veg it, or I'll put it back into veg, or I like this one. I've got a clone. You can do a lot more to it, like you just
Yeah,
said.
yeah. I think that's sort of why I run both. Like autos are for the speed and the turnover, accessibility, and just for the joy of growing. But your photo periods, or the premium stuff is for that chase. You're doing that top end chase. So I don't know. I don't want to sort of pick a side in a war that doesn't need to exist. I think they're both brilliant at what they're for.
Absolutely, and I had a great time diving into the autos as well, because you'd go in there each day and you'd open it up and you didn't know if it was going to start flowering or not.
Yep.
You just couldn't put a day on it, and the speed that they would grow at, it was just such a treat to
Every time
go
you
and
open the
see.
door, there's, a dramatic difference.
Yeah,
And it was, it's always a treat to open the door and look at it and go, oh, wow, look at that. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And so I think I'll
agreed.
be going into them a bit deeper, I think.
Yeah, good. That's good to hear, mate. Good to hear. Because I think, yeah, for me, like, autos just win for speed.
Yep.
Yeah, you can turn over a crop in a couple of months. You get multiple harvests a year off the same space, so size, stealth, simplicity. There's no light switching, no juggling, things like that. So I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think for that reason, I think they're a great tool to have in the toolbox.
Yeah, and and because the light doesn't matter, it doesn't really
Matter
matter
if your
if you.
timers fuck up.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't matter if you put them into the flower tent or not. They're still gonna veg and they're still gonna grow, and away you go. They're gonna do their own thing.
That's right, and I think as an early grower, I think, you're still gonna be left with something at the end of it, like, and by the time you get that dialed in, you're gonna have some really, really nice harvests. So
And just on the
you can just
lights,
have the one
what
tent, the one space, keep on. Yeah.
doing that perpetual harvest, so you've always got something fresh in
Mhm.
there. On the
Yeah, that
lights,
was it.
how long? I know we touched on it a little bit last episode, and you were saying the 18.6, but what about
Mm.
24 and 4 or extended? Have you played with any of
Something like
those
20 and
sort of
4.
things?
Yeah, look, I think there are benefits to be had. Um, I just find the sweet spot where you're talking, power consumption versus yield.
Yep.
I think is 18.6. I don't think it needs to be pushed any further. I think if you push out to something like 20 and 4, you might get a little bit of a benefit, but I wouldn't recommend going 24-0.
Yeah.
Again, like they still need to sleep, in my opinion. They still need transportation, transipitation. That's still a thing. They're still going to
Absolutely,
want
and
to move. Yeah,
DLI is still a real thing too, isn't it? You can
exactly.
crank
Yep.
that light up for the 18 hours and have 6 hours off instead of having it at a medium for your 24
Exactly.
flat out, because they're still going to want to sleep at the end of the day.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And then they're still going to shut down. Yeah. Yeah, like Blade said, the physiological response, to sleep and rest is still really important, and I'm a big believer in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't see the payoff as being anything worth it, in my opinion. I think, dial it into 18.6, stagger your seeds, the way you're popping your seeds,
Yep.
and yeah, you can have that perpetual harvest, and you can be harvesting, more than enough for yourself, every
That's all we could
30 odd
ask for,
days,
isn't it? Yep.
you know. Isn't
And
that beautiful?
with your autos, are you just going to pop one? I know you're putting it into that final container, so a few big pots in a tent can be a fair bit, like. Are you going to just pop the one and hope for the best, or are they a pretty good success rate?
Yeah, okay. I think, like when I say modern day auto cultivars, I think they're pretty good solid success rate. I think, you're going to get variation, and you're going to get genetic variation, expression differences and things like that. Unless, something's highly advertised as being, highly locked in.
Yep.
But I think, for the most part, modern day cultivars, I think you're going to be very happy with sort of what you end up with. To sort of broadly answer that question.
Yeah, no, that answers it spot on. So, yeah, I know. Like,
So you could, yeah, I don't know, like have you got the room to, if you've got the room to run 8, pop four now and pop 4 in a month and a half,
yeah,
and then just in another month and a half pop another 4, because that first 4 will be finished. You know what I mean?
absolutely. And it's just getting used to how big they can actually grow on you.
Exactly, that's it too. But like I said, don't be scared to train them. Low stress training, bending, tying down. Yeah, I think they
Would you go as
respond well to
far
it.
as Would you go as far as a scrog for them?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Gentle de-leafing occasionally I like to do. I think it encourages a lot of growth.
Okay, that's a hot topic, isn't it? Really,
It is.
to defoliate or not to defoliate in your autos.
It is. It is a hot topic, and I think, look, I encourage it, especially with my autos. I think they thrive off it.
Okay. And when you do defoliate, are we talking 10%, 20%?
Yeah. Okay. That's. So I'll probably, with my autos, from probably fourth node onwards, I'm probably just going in and doing 2 or 3 leaves maybe every
Yep.
couple of days.
Okay.
Just what I feel like needs to be moved. I'm not going in and stripping anything hard, but and from a lollipop point of view, once they pistil up and you've got your little chubba chup tops, then I
Yep.
go along and do my stripping of the lower half. But I'll still continue to go along and defoliate all the way through.
So pretty much like your classic day 21 defoliation.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Exactly.
then a gentle one into that.
Exactly, mate. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I'm just always ongoingly selective with what leaves stay. Like if I feel that it's a big leaf and it doesn't need to be there, it's blocking more light than it probably needs, than it's absorbing, then away it goes. Yeah, it's a bit of a hard one. But yeah, just gentle defols. Don't, I'm not saying strip them all back to,
No.
sugar leaves.
No, a bit of schwazing. Yeah. Definitely none of that on an auto.
No. But yeah, apart from that, I think we've covered that one.
What about like your finishing time? Have you noticed that there's any difference in the finishing time? So like your ripening, I should say, when it comes to the end of flower, do you think that they still ripen at the same speed as photos, or do you find that they ripen quicker?
Oh, okay. This can also be another hot topic because not all autos I find amber.
Okay.
Let's say probably 90% do. But there's probably that 10% out there that just don't want to amber.
Okay.
Well, while they're still being grown and fed, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You
If you
nearly
chop
need
it and
to.
hang it up, then it's gonna start to amber off. But until then, nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very good one. Because I've got one. It's nearly pushing 100 days,
Yep.
and
Okay.
same thing. There's not a bit of amber. I'm like, what's going on here?
And she's got probably really dense structure to her, and she's looking ready in every other way.
Absolutely, all the telltales of a photo are
Yep.
there. All the pistils have browned off, and the terps are starting to come in. But
Yep.
Yeah, it's it's 100% milky and 0 amber.
Yeah, there you go. So you might just be pushing that shit uphill for another 2 weeks and still not get anywhere, mate. And that might just be that particular auto. And you might run another one from the same pack and it might amber off nicely.
And that's one of the big things, really, isn't it? Because it's the timing. You can't go off a generic. This is
Don't
8
go off the
weeks. Or this
pack.
is no,
No.
absolutely.
If the pack says it's 75 days seed to harvest, yeah, use that as a guide, but don't go get to 75 days and just chop it down.
No.
Like regard, you know what I mean? Like read the plant, you'll know.
And it's so easy to do these days with the smartphones. I know Apple's got a magnifier on there, and
Yep.
there's
I think
everyone's got a
even some of the
smartphone
really
these days.
good cheaper ones have some amazing cameras. I've heard some of the Oppos and things like that have,
Yep.
microscope zoom and things like that.
Yeah, so there's no excuse for not letting it go to its
No.
final ripeness.
Well, you can even buy a $5 bloody zoom camera lens.
Yep.
On eBay will do the trick, just the clip-on phone camera lens generally. That'll give you enough that you can at least see how those trichomes are looking. I personally use a 60 times loop, but that's just me. I'm fussy.
Yeah, I got a little Wi-Fi 200 times microscope off good old Amazon.
Yeah, beautiful.
So you can
They are
really
good,
get in
actually.
there. Yeah. You can really see if it's just a damaged one or if it is actually turning amber.
Yeah, and you get to see the burst heads or not. Yeah, they are quite good to look at. But yeah, they're cheap enough. No one's got an excuse not to sort of obtain one. Same as a pH pen.
Yeah.
Even just keep a bloody cheapie under to back yourself up just in case.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a good. It might
It can
just
come
be
to
me,
bite
but
you so easy.
yeah, you've always got to have a backup of everything, don't you? It's
Yep. Oh, it's one. I'm a believer in that. I think because I've been bitten, and what is it? Once bitten, twice shy, like they say. So
absolutely, and we're all doing it for the love. Yeah. If you're gonna do it, you got to do it properly.
yeah, I think so. That was something my grandfather always told me. If you're gonna do it fucking properly. Otherwise, don't bother.
Absolutely.
And that always stuck with me. I think so. Yeah.
So if someone was wanting to get into autos,
Mhm.
what would you recommend to them? Would you say you got your 5 gallon fabric pot with your cocoa and
That would be my opinion. Yep. I would send them off to grab a 5 gallon pot, fabric pot, or an air pot, something similar like that.
yep,
Yeah, cocoa perlite mix, some good A and B, and some good flower nutrients. Set their light to 18.6 and let them go.
easy as that.
Pretty much.
I have noticed that there is it's a little clique, it's a little community, isn't it? The auto community. When you're in there, the love and the passion, like
Oh, yep,
that's all
definitely.
that they've got. That's all that they do. A lot of them, and yeah,
Yep. Yeah, some of the auto guys are very heavy auto guys, and that's they live and breathe their auto flowers, and credit to them because I think I think if they work for you, I think it's awesome.
100%. Whatever works for you, there's no point in struggling and being mad with life when an auto could fix your problems.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep. Quite as easy as that. Yep. What do we got? I just saw one from Blade in the chat here, and he's written to add from a lab's perspective, autoflowering is triggered by the hormonal and gibberellin response. So in the lab, they've got a media with 6-BAP and TDZ, keeping them frozen in a state of colonial shoots, not flowers.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. That's awesome. So yeah, things are getting pretty interesting with what we can do here in in the lab and things like that.
Because yeah, that'd be very interesting with all the way that tissue culture is going now, to be able to get some tissue culture of your auto and keep it
Well,
in that.
that's essentially, I guess, what it is, isn't it? You're keeping a cut. You're keeping a clone of an autoflower.
Yeah, that's a great way of the future.
Yeah, future, hey? The future is now. So, and this is something that, see, I think to dive into a lot more is this, yeah, tissue culture and things like that. Like the auto breeder is huge.
Yep.
Being able to find something early and essentially take clones of it to then know exactly what my final product will be with that again later on would allow me to hunt and to, direct things a lot more efficiently.
Yep.
Mm,
And
it's
go into
interesting.
that premium clone only sort of side of it as well, sort of, the
You can hunt
exclusive cut.
traits a lot more efficiently.
Mm.
So yeah, would be really, really cool.
What about the future? Where do you see the future? Like,
Oh,
I know that just recently, I think that they've really made a comeback, and they've got the autoflower cups, and they've got a lot of things like just been advertised at Mary Jane Berlin. That's happened with
yep.
the 420 fast buds taking out all the awards and everything, and it seems to, personally, I think that they've made a rise in popularity.
Agreed. 100% agree. And I think that comes back to legalization and home grow.
Yep.
And the fact that, not everyone's got room for a flower tent and a veg tent and a clone tent. But everyone has got room for one tent.
Absolutely.
So, that's where autoflowers win, in my opinion. If you've got, little old lady that just wants to smoke for herself, then she can more than easily do that with a single tent. She can have a perpetual grow, 2 plants, harvest every 70 to 90 days.
Yep.
Yeah. What more do you want as a little home grower, really?
Absolutely. And
And then if you've got
especially as
those
the
nice genetics to choose from, so,
there's a plethora of them now too, isn't there?
Yep.
There's, it seems as though everyone, or every seed bank, or every breeder is sort of going down that line as well now, aren't they? I see.
Definitely. Definitely.
So do you think that that's going to be good for the autos, or do you just think that it's going to put a bit of mud in the water, or?
Yeah, mate, I think time will tell with that one. Yeah, because it just depends on how many breeders are breeders and how many are going to do the right thing and how many are going to, go that deep, or how many are just pollen chucking because they wanted to preserve something that they liked. And yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah, do you think that it's going to undo a lot of good work, putting a lot of this unstable stuff back out there, or?
I think it can, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it definitely can. But I think there are a lot of companies doing the right thing too. So
Yeah, and they're really renowned for it. Like, there's only a handful of the top tier auto breeders and companies. I suppose you'd say, not so
Yep.
much breeder, but the the seed company made a
Yeah,
great reputation for themselves.
there's not a great lot. There's a couple of personal recommendations. But like Alabrije Genetics is amazing.
Okay.
They do some amazing autos. Same as Night Owl. I'll shout out Night Owl. Um, yeah, there's probably another. I know Ake Genetics out of Canada. He does some really nice stuff.
Yep.
There's some looser stuff in there too. Some faster bred stuff. I'm not going to say it's bad because it's not, but there's definitely a lot of stuff in there that's had a lot of work put into it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you can really see it, the ones that have actually done it for passion, that they've got their vision. They've gone into it, like you said, with a plan to come out the other end, instead of just pollen chucking and here you go, here's a
yeah. Instead of just going, well, I like both of them, so together they must be good. So here, have
yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah,
speed running into the full auto.
yeah,
There's just been no selectiveness put into it.
yeah. Exactly.
And I do know, with Night Owl, listening to a couple of old Daz's interviews and things, that he's been doing it for a very long time as well, and it's been his
The
entire
passion,
life, pretty much, hasn't it? Yeah,
the passion, I think, is pretty unbridled with old Daz. Like, yeah,
and that's where you're gonna get that stable plant.
exactly. Yeah, and you're going to get something that you know that it's going to produce for you.
Yep.
Yep. And I think that's the main thing.
Oh, 100%, because no one wants to go back to that the olden days of the Lowryder, where you because nothing's cheap these days, and the power
No.
definitely isn't, and nutrients and everything, and you put 80 days of your life into this thing, and you're rewarded with a packet of Skittles.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh,
Like, yeah, and if that's your one plant, your one tent, you're going to be shattered.
yeah,
And how are you going to survive off that for another, 80 days if you haven't got, proper perpetual grows going and whatever and things like that. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is just be selective with your genetics when it
yep,
comes to autoflowers. Yeah, probably my best advice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's very similar to your photos as well, though, isn't it? Like, there's
Yep.
there's some reputable ones out there, and then there's some ones that are big and have all the money and show, and not so reputable. They've
And that
they've
are a bit
come unwell.
questionable. Mm, definitely. I couldn't agree more. Um, and I think, like you say, just sort of, do a bit of research and if there's a particular cultivar or a particular strain that you're looking to grow, have a look where it came from.
Yep.
And
Okay.
try, and that's my opinion, try and source as close to that original as you can. Because a lot of these places are available, or you can source them from places that have genuinely been allowed access to those genetics and things like that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, really, isn't it? That it's legal, and there can be so much work done in
Yeah, and
such
it's
a short amount of
ethical,
time.
I think, is a big thing too. I think when we come down to it, you know,
Yep,
I'm a big believer in being ethical around this plant as well. Because
100%.
what we take from it and what we give to it, we're going to get back in some way. And I'd prefer it to be positive than negative.
Yeah, you're dead right. it's a special plant, so it should be treated with love and care, and
Yeah, and respect. Yep.
absolutely.
Yep. Um, yeah. So I think. Well, I was gonna ask you. It was it was one of the things I was gonna ask at the end of the episode, but you answered it earlier. Is that you were gonna give autos a crack in those auto pots?
Hey, I've got to. I've seen in the community there on the Dank Trees community, and there's the photos that are just coming through. There's the passion, and as I said, I've enjoyed it. So I do have a love for the auto pots and for the soil. So I might
Yep.
combine the two and see how the auto goes. I've the one that I've got in there that's just finishing up now. It's about 1200 high, so
Yeah.
there's no more room in it in there
Yep.
for anything else. I underestimated how good they can actually grow.
No, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's really good to hear. So yeah, now you're going to dive in deeper and let's see what really turns up.
Absolutely. It's time to start playing with the low stress techniques and the topping. So
Yeah, cool. I'm keen to hear how it goes. I'm sure everyone will be. A bit of feedback is always good, but yeah, I think yeah, I think don't be shy. Don't be scared to tie them back. Don't be scared to low stress train. Don't be scared to just to treat them like a plant.
and don't be scared to even have a go. I know I was for a long time. I was very skeptical of them and how
Yep.
I was wrong.
Yeah, well said, mate. Yeah, don't be scared to just have a crack. And choose some decent genetics, and you'll be 99% certain you'll be happy with what you get at the end of it.
And I think the way that smart controllers have gone with the tents and the environments and everything, I think it really makes it a lot easier to get your bigger autos as well now, because you can dial that environment in so easily.
That's
And you,
something very well said, mate. Yeah, the way these controllers, like you say, that are and they're so accessible for everybody.
absolutely, you can set it to your point 0.9 VPD or your 1.1 or whatever you want to do, and set it there, and you've got your dehumidifier, your humidifier,
You
and
can
that
plug it
plant
all
can
in,
live
and
its best life it can and get as big
yep,
as it can. And
isn't that beautiful? Hey,
yeah, yeah, it's come a long way, and it can really express the absolute maximum of the expressions of the plant,
it's
really.
come a very long way from the old, timer power bank things, and oh Jesus, fused timer power banks that HPS lights, and oh god, yeah. Now you just all plug it into the one little power board, and then you know connect it via Wi-Fi to your controller, and away you go.
Yeah, that's the good thing about the autopots is as well. You've just got that constant reservoir there, so there's no running out of water, and you can you can change all the parameters on your lights and your environment, and while you're away at work or while you're on holidays, and know that you can even have a look at it now with the cameras that they've got. AC Infinity's got that new AI camera
Yep.
that it's for lazy growers, really, isn't it? It'll pick up a pest or a
Oh, it's crazy.
deficiency or something's wrong with the plant, and so there's
Yeah,
not really any excuse anymore for people not to be able to grow something
exactly. Yeah, I
adequate for
think.
themselves.
It's very well said. I don't know how sold I am on these AI controllers yet, but I think they're only ever going to get better. Like, um, it won't be very long. AI's advanced that rapidly that it's not going to be very long before these cameras and things will be able to do it all.
Oh, Absolutely, and yeah, it's another set of eyes on the garden is always good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think, even as early as I can remember, I've always had cameras in the garden.
Yep.
Just, personal, just so I could see the plants. So, yeah, interesting.
Is the way that life is. No one really gets to spend as I know I don't.
As much time
I
as we
could
want to.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I could spend all day in there just looking at them and but
Wouldn't that be nice, eh?
oh, wouldn't it? But at least your camera that can be in there all day for you and
Yeah,
keep
it's
an eye.
baby cam. That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Everyone needs a baby cam. But yeah, I think we've pretty much sort of touched on everything. I think we've sort of gone through the breeding mostly, gone through the feeding, gone through lights.
Yeah, the defoliation and the training was the big one for me, and I know that a couple of people wanted some good answers on that, on when they should and shouldn't, or if they even should touch the big fan leaves.
Yep, I hope I answered that for everyone. And, feel free to come and yell at me. Uh, but nah, I'm sure you're going to benefit definitely greatly.
I'll keep everyone updated because yeah, it's definitely something I'll be looking further into.
Yeah, cool. Very, very good. Um, yeah. I think that might bring us to the end of this one. So I think so. Like I said before, autos I think win for speed. You get your multiple harvests a year. I think that's the biggest take from them, and just their simplicity. Who shouldn't bother? Who aren't they for? I think if you're sort of, your one and only goal is chasing that absolute pinnacle, the absolute ceiling, and you've got the time and the space to run long photo periods all the time, then I think run your photos. That's your game. Stick to it. Yeah. But
What
I think
about for
for everyone else,
what about
I
for
think,
the outdoor crew?
yeah,
Are autos for them or not for them?
I think so. I think start them
Okay.
off, give them a good little start inside. You know, even if that has to be on a windowsill, just in the warmth of the house, so
Yep.
it doesn't have to cop with that early temperature swing too much.
Yep.
Um,
Because that
yeah,
can be a really good thing as well, in parts of this lovely country where it gets too humid and they get a lot of storms and your cyclone season coming through, and there'd be nothing worse than spending an entire year prepping your soil,
yep,
getting your plants in there, getting them to a, a very lovely size, and then getting them destroyed by mold from the rain that's hung around a little bit long, or a
yep,
storm season.
exactly. And I think that's another thing. That's where autos are prime for some people in our country. Excuse me, because you can fit them in those outdoor seasons and in the shorter outdoor seasons, or you can fit them in with your photo period stuff that you run outdoors as well.
Really take advantage of that shoulder season too, and
Exactly.
start them really early, so you've got yourself a treat for Christmas.
Exactly. That's exactly it, mate. Well said. Get them finished up, and they're all nice and early. And while everyone else is out looking, you're sitting there with it. So, because it seems to be the time everyone's looking is Christmas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, I think that pretty much answers it for everybody.
I know it answers it for me. I had a couple of questions there that I was really looking forward to hearing an answer from, and yeah, I think you covered them very well.
Beautiful. Thanks, mate. I'm glad. It's an absolute pleasure to have a chat, as always. It was absolute pleasure to have you guys in the chat,
Yep.
giving us some feedback and asking questions and things like that. It's beautiful.
All the lovely members of the community.
It was great. So yeah, I think that's the full breakdown. I think autos aren't what they used to be. They come a hell of a long way. And I think if you know how to treat them, and you learn how to treat them, they'll reward you very, very well. That's about it. Feed them light early. Train them gently. Don't go hard on it. And I think you do that, you're most of the way there.
Sounds good. I hope this has persuaded a few of the listeners to give them a go.
Yes, same. And on another note, I think we're going to have some special guests coming to the table soon. So we're going to have some few interview chats and some things like that. So some interesting ones to come, guys.
That's going to be good. Really looking forward to those ones.
So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks, John, mate. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, mate. It's a pleasure once again to have a seat at the table.
Pleasure having you. And we'll see everyone again next week.
Take care, everyone.
This was the Terpene Table. This episode of the Terpene Table is brought to you by Growers Pal. Aussie legends when it comes to keeping your clones safe in transit. If you've ever tried to post a cutting wrapped in wet paper towel and cling wrap, you'll know it's a gamble at best. Growers Pal clone shippers take the guesswork out of it. Purpose built with segmented compartments to keep your genetics snug, and even a little LED light to keep them happy on the road. Whether they're headed up the coast or across the country, you can trust your prize cuts will land fresh, not fried. They're mates of the Roo and they're mates of the Discord, so you know their growers looking out for you, not just trying to sell you something. Head over to growerspower.com.au. That's www.growerspal.com.au and sort yourself out with a proper kit for moving your genetics across the country, because good clones deserve a fair dinkum safe ride.